So great to be in. Bill Raftery next hour. Rick Barry final hour. Rick Barry was Larry Bird before Larry Bird. I just can't get over tonight how excited I am. So, listen, I'm not trying to hide it. I'm not trying to BS you. I took out teams with 1% chance on the NBA ping pong lottery tonight. Here's the 11 teams with a chance to land him. New York, Cleveland, and Phoenix have the best odds at 14%. Chicago, 12.5%. Atlanta, 10.5%. Then Washington. Then it kind of bleeds down to the Lakers and 2% chance. Listen, I like big. Okay, in the Fiesta Bowl, I'd take Ohio State, Notre Dame every year. It's nothing against TCU and Boise State. I like big. I like big moments. I've been doing this for 30 years. Regular season baseball games don't feel urgent. I like World Cups. I like Super Bowls. I like star players. I like big stuff. It's not that I don't watch, random, regular season college basketball games, but when you've been doing something for 30 years, you're looking for a little juice in life, right? Zion to New York is juice. So let me give you the 6 places, because some of these are a buzzkill. I mean, the guy ends up in Memphis. I'm turning my television set off. I might not even watch the NBA next year. I'd be so disappointed. Let me give you the 6 places that make sense to me and that feel big. Number 1, obviously New York, Madison Square Garden. It rejuvenates the franchise. It's got a Patrick Ewing 1985 feel. If you've been to the Garden, New York is just a different basketball environment. Loud, obnoxious, raucous, intense, urgent. It literally would be the biggest story in the league, along with KD to the Knicks, if that's true. Number 2, don't deny it, Lakers. LeBron plus Zion, LeBron plus the next LeBron. Of course it's huge. Lakers are still the biggest brand in the NBA. It would kind of rejuvenate LeBron's final destination potentially in the NBA, because it feels, as Joy said yesterday, it feels after that Frank Vogel hire like it's just a bunch of nothing. Number 3, Dallas. I'd like to see this. I'd be very excited if that happened. Maybe not LeBron, Zion excited, or Knicks, but I would get Luka Doncic. I'd get Porzingis. I'd get a good coach in Rick Carlisle, crazy popular owner in Mark Cuban, and Zion. They'd be really good really fast. That would be a top 4 seed. Brilliantly run organization. They can wear me out at times. But Zach LaVine, Lauri Markkanen, they got some shooters. And there'd be some comps to Michael Jordan. I mean, we've seen Chicago when basketball is big. It is a big Midwestern heart of the country, right in the middle of it. And we all still have memories of Michael. It'd be fun. It'd be fun to see Chicago, great American city, be fascinating. I'll say number 5 is Phoenix. They could work with Ja Morant or Zion. Ja's a better fit. But you know what? Phoenix has Devin Booker, a legitimate young star, kind of a Damian Lillard. Doesn't get talked about early, but great. You got a max contract. You got the DeAndre Ayton from Arizona. And then you throw Zion in. You're like, okay. People forget this. Phoenix was a really good NBA franchise, won a title years ago. Gar Heard, and this is not a dead franchise. They have been good before. They were good for years and years. Number 6 is, you'll be surprised by this, I think Cleveland would be okay. They have their point guard, and you know what? I've seen LeBron there, and it made it fun, and it would be fun to compare. Okay, the next LeBron replaces the last LeBron. Give me a lot of shows, a lot of topics, a lot of segments. I don't think it would be bad for the NBA, and Cleveland has a weird way of winning this thing all the time. And then number 7, 8, 9, 10, I would be miserable and no fun to be around if those happened. I don't want to see John Wall's injury and bad contract with Zion. I don't want to see. Can you imagine Zion in an Atlanta Hawks uniform? This is simply not good enough, America.
Out of the teams that are left that we've excluded of the 1%ers, that is the most tolerable situation.
Atlanta?
Yeah.
Does Atlanta had 5 All-Stars and got swept by LeBron.
I'm saying out of the choices that I don't want, that would be number 1.
Yeah, when I was a kid, out of the choices I hated, Raisin Bran was the best cereal. But I wanted honeycomb and Lucky Charms and Count
sugar
Chocula.
on Raisin Bran and make it tolerable.
My mom was into this whole health thing, and I was like, I got Count Chocula staring at me in the cupboard, and you're making me eat Raisin Bran. Joy with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herdline News.
So Jeannie Buss took over as president of the Lakers after her father's death in 2013. That year was also the last time the team reached the playoffs. And yesterday, Bill Plaschke said on the Dan Patrick Show that some of the Lakers' minority owners are growing impatient with the way that Jeannie is running the team.
Their business side is tremendous. It's the best in town. It's one of the best in all pro sports. They signed the best TV deal in the history of pro sports. They're making a ton of money. But the thought here is one more year of this nonsense, and it's going to start to really affect the brand and affect the partners and affect the season ticket holders and all that. Just don't forget, she took over the team in a coup from her brothers. So the team can be taken over in a coup. That could happen. I don't see that happening until at least they see what happens this summer and see what happens next year. They're going to give her another year. But no, people are upset.
So the Lakers, they should be. The Lakers ownership group consists of the Buss Family Trust, which owns 66% of the team, which each of the 6 children holding a share. Okay. Then Philip Anschutz, who owns AEG, which owns the Staples Center.
Yeah, he's a rich dude.
Yes. Edward P. Roski and Patrick Soon-Shiong, who owns the LA Times, who is also
those are like
works for.
Those last 3 guys could be the 3 of the 5 richest people on the West Coast.
I mean, they're very influential people. They're not the ones that you want to upset, even if the Buss family owns 66% of it. I mean, he is right. The business side of the Lakers has never been in question, though. The brand of the Lakers survives on its own no matter what's going on.
Joey, we just saw a story. You and I think you did this in Herdline about 3 months ago. The Knicks are still the highest valuation team in the league, and they've been not only uninteresting, they've been
completely dysfunctional
for 20 years.
Right. The winning has not been a part of that equation at all, and they're still the most profitable franchise. So the Lakers' business side's never been in question, but this is getting a little bit ridiculous. I mean, as pathetic as that protest was, that should not be happening with the Lakers.
You know what? And we can all make fun of that protest, but those fans, that went viral.
Yes.
And you can make fun of those fans all you want, but they got a lot of national play. Those fans put their faces out there on it. There's a lot of anonymous Twitter nerds. These people put their face on it,
right?
And it made a lot of noise.
I give them credit because they do care. And if there's even a small fraction of fans out there protesting what's happening, you're clearly not running the franchise properly. I mean, we just don't know who's in charge, and that really is what it comes down to. Is that there feels like there's no direction, and there's talks out there that players are actually disappointed as well. I mean, I'm sure LeBron is furious with the way that things have been going. So Steve Kerr has confirmed that Kevin Durant will not play in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals against the Blazers tonight. He will likely be out for Game 2. There's hints he could be out even longer than that, especially after Kerr gave us this update.
Everyone needs to slow down a little bit on the Kevin stuff. He hasn't even stepped on the floor yet. Maybe people have gotten the idea that he's going to come back and be Willis Reed or something. He hasn't even stepped on the floor yet. He still has pain. There's some time ahead of him on the rehab process. So we'll have a more detailed update on Thursday.
I think we all need to sort of accept we may not see Durant for the rest of this postseason.
I think that's possible in the conference finals, but God, the finals are 2 weeks away.
I mean, who knows? If he's rushing back from a calf strain, he's not going to be 100% either. I mean, I'm sure he's going to want to come back. I'm sure they're going to try and aggressively rehab it as much as possible.
Well,
but
you know.
When I saw it, I assumed it was over. Because everyone thought it was an Achilles, but I still don't know if I will see him.
If they win the first 2 in Oracle, you and I know they're just going to keep pushing him. They're just going to keep every time they win without him. That gives them the license. They're going to absolutely because clearly he's not on the floor yet. So
right. I mean, that's telling, though. Like, the rehab process really hasn't even begun because he hasn't even stepped on the floor. Everyone does need to calm down. Finally, sticking with Durant, the Knicks are clearly prepared to do whatever it takes to land 2 of this offseason's biggest free agents. According to ESPN's Stephen A. Smith, Knicks owner James Dolan will effectively give KD and Kyrie a blank check. Stephen A. said, Kyrie Irving is headed to Madison Square Garden with Kevin Durant. I am told that James Dolan himself basically said, whatever the hell you want, I will move the hell out of the way. I will give you whatever you want. It doesn't matter. I'll take care of you, to the Kyries and Kevin Durants of the world. And as you mentioned a few minutes ago, the Knicks are worth $4 billion, which makes them the most valuable NBA team for the 4th straight year.
Well, if Kevin Durant and Kyrie and Zion landed, you're worth $4.5 billion, because there's no question LeBron going to Cleveland elevated the net worth of Dan Snyder significantly, and him leaving with Colin Sexton and Kevin Love, they're not as valuable as a franchise.
Here's the thing, though. And while I do hope that does happen, because I think it's going to be good for the NBA and it's going to be fun and it's going to elevate a cornerstone brand of the league, I'll believe this when I see it. The whole owner that's been meddling and the dysfunctional franchise, all of a sudden you get the three of the biggest stars in the NBA, and all of a sudden you're just going to fade into the mist. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. He likes, James Dolan's like in a band. He likes to be front and center.
Right. I mean, that's just not believable. Now, if he's going to make a concerted effort not to meddle in the basketball side of things, I guess that's promising that at least he's saying it.
Right.
But
yeah. Joy, good stuff for the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
The ever-entertaining Bill Raftery next hour, Rick Barry, Chris Haynes. Let's bring on my buddy, the Doug Gottlieb, Fox Sports Radio, right after our show. Great seeing Doug Gottlieb. Good show. Listen this week, folks. He knows all his college basketball and NBA stuff. All right, I said this. Listen, there are things in sports that I'm excited for. When Harbaugh went to the Michigan, it's better than Brady Hoke, just because it's bigger. And I like Michigan. I like big brands. When you're my age, you'll wake up in the morning and you don't want to watch the Twins Angels on a Tuesday. You want big stuff, right? You're still in that young, adorable stage.
When did you become Grandpa Colin? You used to be Uncle Colin. Now you're Grandpa Colin.
Okay. I would never, if I was an owner, I wouldn't be meddling. But in the case of Zion, I'd be like, fellas, step out of the way. This is Lindros, Bryce. Like, this is going to make me money, too, and I own the team. Can you envision a team trading Zion if they got him?
No, especially many of the teams need a drawing card, and he's a drawing card. I mean, there's an argument to be made that you would draft John Morant ahead of Zion Williamson because he's a freak athlete. He's a dominant ball handler. He's the kind of guy that his usage rating will be much higher.
Good point.
And though he may not have the initial impact of Zion, I think Zion's going to be initially very impactful, even though he needs to improve his jump shot. I think John Morant has a chance to be a dominant guard for years to come.
Yeah.
But he puts butts in the seats, and that's one of the hardest things in sports. I'm going to disagree with you on Atlanta. You're wrong about Atlanta. This is actually, and look, I don't love the Atlanta sports fan, but the Hawks GM is a former Warriors guy.
Yeah.
They have their own Steph Curry, and they have John Collins, who's a young burgeoning star.
Yeah.
This would give them their own Draymond Green, if you will. Like, again, I think the league would love it if he's in New York.
Right.
They wouldn't hate it if he's in Chicago. It'd be ironic if he was in Cleveland, but I would move Atlanta more up the list. You put him with Trae Young, and I'm watching. I'm watching every night.
Okay.
That would be entertaining. Atlanta fans may not watch because they don't always show up for their home team.
I know.
But I would be watching.
It's interesting about this Warriors thing, and we talked about this before, is that you were a pass-first point guard, and if you would have been a greater shooter, you may not have been as effective as a leader. In that, it's hard for fans to wrap their arms around, but sometimes the best player on the floor does stop the ball. And listen, you can't deny the numbers. I'm watching Golden State. They're 30-4 without KD and with Steph. They look different. They're more fluid. I'm not saying long-term it's better. But
actually, you just did, but that's okay.
Okay, but I will say,
you're saying they're better without Kevin Durant.
They're different.
They are different.
They're different.
They're different, but they're better with Kevin Durant. You take the numbers of 30-4. What games did he not play? Who did he not play? This is like plus minus. Who else was on the floor with you when your plus minus was better? Look, it was incredible what they did Friday night in Houston. Incredible.
One of the best NBA games I've seen in years.
Not just that, but a coaching masterpiece. Cycling through your entire bench in the first half, completely changing the way in which you played, using big guys, using Andrew Bogut and Kevon Looney, and using Jordan Bell, who'd been buried deep in the doghouse, and bringing him out, running through offensive sets you hadn't used in a game in months, and getting good looks for the Quinn Cooks of the world. And I thought that exhausted Houston, and Houston, they didn't lose the game in the first half, but they could have won the game in the first half, and they did not.
No question.
But if you listen to what the Warriors are saying, they're like, look, we can do it for a night. We don't think we can do it for now. Look, they get a bit of a reprieve playing Portland, who I just don't think this is a good matchup. Like, they like to play fast. They like to play, they're guard dominant. Like, they're a slightly lesser version of what the Warriors like to do, and they don't have a Draymond Green.
Right.
But let's not take what was a masterpiece on Friday night. Think about this. Andre Iguodala hadn't hit more than 4 threes in a game, okay, since 2011. 2011. We're 2019 now. Okay?
I know.
I mean, you want to talk about competitive greatness? How about a guy who is seen as a non-shooter, is left open, hits 5 big threes, and then the biggest play of the game, he actually passed the ball to Clay. But to the people saying they're better without him, they are different. The ball does move differently. But based upon how this team is constructed, they need a Kevin Durant to carry them through most nights. And occasionally, they're going to get a Clay night in Game 6, and they're, of course, going to get Steph Curry, who's up a little bit up and down, but he can give you 30 in a heartbeat.
I want to say this. This weekend, Friday and Sunday, I watched the NBA, and I just had a ball watching it. And there's so many players I like to watch. And I know Toronto is not good for ratings because it's the 3rd biggest city in North America, but they don't count for our listeners for our ratings because it's in Canada, just like Detroit wouldn't count for Canadian Stanley Cup numbers in Canada. So I know that the Eastern Conference Finals is not going to get a good rating with small market Milwaukee and Toronto. That said, I'm just going to speak anecdotally. I have had so much fun watching these playoffs. I think Milwaukee's fascinating. I think Boston's drama was infuriating. The Golden State-Houston series, when Katie got hurt, got more fascinating. Portland's a neat story. There's a lot of young stars. Now Zion's coming in. Now Katie's probably moving. And LeBron's not here. And I watch my ratings every day. I've been up 30, 40%. I think, I'm not saying the league is better without LeBron. But I do feel like he's no longer the lead story in the NBA. My show was fine without him. We went a month didn't talk about him. Philly's fast.
You did not go a month without talking.
Well, not much.
There's not a chance.
I don't feel like he's the. Yesterday, Joy said something on the show, and I totally agreed. She's like, after the Frank Vogel hire, she's like, God, I just don't care as much about the Lakers. And I was like, 2-0 on that. I agree. I don't think the league is beholden to LeBron as much as all of us think.
Well, I don't think we're going to find out this year because he is going to be back.
Right.
I think it's going to be fascinating to see the Frank Vogel thing, the Jason Kidd thing. And I also think a lot of us are looking at it as this, Jason Kidd was hired to be look, I don't know why you would hire Jason Kidd as an assistant. He's never been an assistant. Right. The idea that he was a mentor towards Lonzo Ball, I think there was one phone call between the two, like just kind of a little bit of a do-better talk. I do think that he could be a very good advocate for Lonzo Ball. I personally think that Jason Kidd, look, he's represented by Jeff Schwartz. So too is DeAndre Jordan. So too is Kemba Walker. I think that's a little bit more what this is about than about any sort of coaching masterpiece. I think Frank Vogel's a good coach. He's a grinder. I think he'll be fine. I think they'll be better defensively, and they have to reshape that roster and get more shooters around him. But look, America loves a comeback, and I still think LeBron has one last push in him, and this might actually be the best thing for him. This might give him a couple of extra years on his career that he's not playing right now, not beating up his body, and he'll shut it down this summer. But I do think the league is better positioned for LeBron's ultimate exit than it was for Jordan's ultimate exit.
That's because
for people who have forgotten, when Jordan left, there was talent. Right? There was Vince Carter and Tracy McGrady and Allen Iverson and Rasheed Wallace. And Marbury, but Marbury couldn't win, couldn't get along with anybody. You know, brought back twice to New York City and he couldn't function.
Yeah.
Allen Iverson was a mess off the court.
Yeah.
And he had the one finals run but wasn't consistent.
Right.
And, didn't necessarily buy into to being coached. Vince Carter never won enough. Tracy McGrady never won a first-round series. And they just kind of struggled until they found that guy.
Yeah.
And then that guy's been the picture as consistency. I think with Steph, with Giannis, with Kawhi, they're better positioned, but the league still needs LeBron. If LeBron was playing and now we had the Lakers and the Warriors, you would see a ratings bonanza. Let's not kid ourselves.
All right, Doug, stick around. Got a lot of things to talk about. More on Zion. There's a trade possibility with Philadelphia that's kind of fascinating, so don't go anywhere. Plus, Bill Raftery next hour. Everybody's trying to eat a little healthier, and we know that. That's kind of the world we live in. It's amplified here in California, maybe. Hard to find the time. You got kids, you got practice, you got recitals, you got, you know what I mean? So sometimes you eat crap. Then there's Soylent. The CEO, Brian, I met, replacing 7 meals a week. It's a complete meal in a bottle. 20 grams of plant protein, 36 essential nutrients, slow